A biblical-level plague is now hit Mecca. The question being asked, is this a divine message?
The holiest city in Islam, Kaaba in Mecca, has been swarmed by a catastrophic plague of strange insects that has left Muslims around the globe puzzled. The insects, which resembled giant cockroaches with wings, were emitting a foul odor and making loud noises. This bizarre invasion has caused several speculations and chaos among worshippers. What exactly are these mysterious creatures, and what could be behind this bizarre invasion? How did they manage to infiltrate the heavily guarded sanctuary? Could it be that the insect infestation is a divine message, perhaps a miracle or a warning? What do they mean for the future of Islam and the world?
It sounds biblical, but as the world grapples with the COVID pandemic facing another plague, locusts.
Join us as we explore the shocking phenomenon of the strange insects that terrify Muslims. The sudden invasion of unusual insects at the Kaaba in Mecca has stirred up questions about faith, the natural world, and the power of Allah. This event has raised many questions among Muslims and non-Muslims alike about the meaning and significance of such a rare occurrence. Muslims particularly are trying to interpret such events and what role they play in shaping our understanding of the world. Is this a sign from Allah, a warning or a blessing? Or is it just a natural event, a result of environmental factors or human activities? To answer this, it's important to understand some context about the Kaaba and why it holds so much significance in Islam. The Kaaba, located in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, is a cube-shaped building made of black granite that serves as the focal point of worship for Muslims around the world. It is referred to as the holiest city in Islam. Muslims believe that the Kaaba was originally built by the Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael as a house of worship for Allah, the one and only God. The Kaaba is also the direction that Muslims face when they perform their daily prayers 5 times a day, wherever they are. The Kaaba is also the main destination of the annual Hajj pilgrimage, one of the 5 pillars of Islam that every able-bodied and financially capable Muslim is required to perform at least once in their lifetime. The Hajj is a spiritual journey that involves various rites and rituals, such as circling the Kaaba 7 times in a counterclockwise direction, known as tawaf, as a symbol of devotion and submission to Allah. The Hajj is also a time for Muslims to seek forgiveness, repentance, and purification from their sins, as well as to strengthen their bond with Allah and their fellow Muslims. The Hajj is a unique and transformative experience that millions of Muslims from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds participate in every year, demonstrating the diversity and unity of the Muslim community. The Kaaba is not only a physical structure, but also a spiritual symbol that holds a deep and profound meaning for Muslims. The Kaaba represents the oneness and uniqueness of Allah, who is the creator and sustainer of everything in the universe. Moreover, the Kaaba also represents the continuity and connection between the past, present, and future generations of Muslims, who share a common heritage and destiny. The Kaaba is a reminder of the purpose of life, which is to worship Allah alone and to follow His guidance and commands. Furthermore, the Kaaba is also a source of hope and inspiration for Muslims who seek Allah's mercy, grace, and protection in times of hardship and difficulty. The Kaaba is the heart of Islam, the focal point of the Muslim faith and practice. The Kaaba also contains several relics and artifacts that have been preserved and revered by Muslims for centuries. One of the most notable is the Black Stone, a meteorite that is embedded in the eastern corner of the Kaaba. Muslims believe that the Black Stone was given to Abraham by the angel Gabriel as a sign of Allah's covenant and promise with him. The Black Stone is kissed or touched by pilgrims during the tawaf as a gesture of love and respect for Allah. Another relic is the Kiswa, the black silk cloth that covers the Kaaba. The Kiswa is embroidered with gold and silver threads, depicting Quranic verses and Islamic calligraphy. The Kiswa is replaced every year on the 9th day of the Islamic month of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafat, when pilgrims gather on the plain of Arafat to seek Allah's mercy and forgiveness. The old Kiswa is cut into pieces and distributed as gifts to dignitaries and institutions. The Kaaba also has a door, a spout, a gutter, and a staircase, all of which have their own history and symbolism. For instance, the door of the Kaaba is made of solid gold and is opened only twice a year for visitors. The spout of the Kaaba is called the Mizab al-Rahma, meaning the spout of mercy, and it drains the rainwater from the roof of the Kaaba. The gutter of the Kaaba is called the Shadharwan, meaning the protector, and it prevents the rainwater from seeping into the foundation of the Kaaba. The staircase of the Kaaba is called the Al-Nadwa, meaning the assembly, and it was used by the Prophet Muhammad and his companions to enter the Kaaba. According to Islamic cosmology, the Zura pilgrimage site was the precursor to the Kaaba. Prior to Islam, the Kaaba was a holy site for the various Bedouin tribes throughout the Arabian Peninsula. Once every lunar year, Bedouin people would make a pilgrimage to Mecca. Setting aside any tribal feuds, they would worship their gods in the Kaaba and trade with each other in the city. Various sculptures and paintings were held inside the Kaaba. A statue of Hubal, the principal idol of Mecca, and statues of other pagan deities are known to have been placed in or around the Kaaba. Apart from the paintings of pagan idols decorating the walls, which were destroyed at the behest of Muhammad after his conquest of Mecca, there were also paintings of angels, of Ibrahim holding divination arrows, and of Isa, Jesus, and his mother, Maryam, Mary, which Muhammad spared. Undefined decorations, money, and a pair of ram's horns were recorded to be inside the Kaaba. The pair of ram's horns were said to have belonged to the ram sacrificed by Ibrahim in place of his son, Ismail, as held by Islamic tradition. During its history, the black stone at the Kaaba has been struck and smashed by a stone fired from a catapult. It has been smeared with excrement, stolen and ransomed by the Karmatians, and smashed into several fragments. A British writer, Karen Armstrong, asserts that the Kaaba was officially dedicated to Hubal, a Nabatean deity, and contained 360 idols which probably represented the days of the year. However, by the time of Muhammad's era, it seems that the Kaaba was venerated as the temple of Allah, the High God. Muhammad cleansed the Kaaba of all the idols and restored it to its original monotheistic status. He also established the rites and rituals of the Hajj, the annual pilgrimage to Mecca, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. The Kaaba is more than just a building. It is a sacred site, a symbol of faith, and a source of blessing for Muslims. However, the recent insect infestation at the Kaaba has sparked controversy and speculation about its meaning and cause. According to some sources, the insects were cockroaches, while others believe they were crickets or locusts. Regardless of the type of insect, the invasion caused a lot of disturbance and discomfort among the worshippers and the authorities, who had to launch a large-scale cleaning and disinfection campaign to get rid of the pests. The incident also raised many questions and debates among Muslims and non-Muslims alike about the possible reasons and implications of such a rare and unusual event. According to Dr. Jackie Judas, the manager and scientific advisor of the terrestrial biodiversity at Emirates Nature, "This is unbelievable," he said. "I have never seen this species in such big numbers. This is the first time for me to see this species in big numbers. I'm not surprised that people are saying the same." So, is this invasion something miraculous, a warning, or just a regular thing? This is a question in the heart of many, as in Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and Buddhism, locust infestation is considered a sign of judgment or punishment. The Bible and the Quran, the holy books of 2 of the most followed religions on earth, have described and referred to locusts as menacing and strong creatures that bring misery to those facing their wrath. They have also mentioned locusts as one of the plagues that God sent to punish the disobedient and the wicked. In the Quran, verse 133 of chapter 7 says, "So we let loose upon them the flood and the locusts and the lice and the frogs and blood, all explicit signs, but they were too arrogant. They were sinful people." Here the Quran says it's a plague. First, it talks about the flood, as videos of flooding in Mecca have been circulating on the internet. Torrential rain, accompanied by hailstorms and flash floods in Mecca, and now locusts. Yet some people say it is a miracle. But the Quran says it is not a miracle. It even says the people were arrogant and sinful. When God was dealing with Pharaoh, he told him in the book of Exodus, chapter 10, verse 4, "If you refuse to let them go, I will bring locusts into your country." You already know the story of how Pharaoh refused to let the children of Israel go. And one of the punishments God brought on Egypt was an invasion of locusts. Exodus chapter 10, verse 12 says, "And the Lord said to Moses, Stretch out your hand over Egypt so that locusts swarm over the land and devour everything growing in the fields, everything left by the hail. This shows how devastating and destructive locusts can be as they consume all the crops and vegetation, leaving behind famine and starvation. In the Bible, the book of Nahum, chapter 3, verse 15 says, "There the fire will consume you, the sword will cut you down. They will devour you like a swarm of locusts, multiply like grasshoppers, multiply like locusts." The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 38 says, "You will sow much seed in the field, but you will harvest little because locusts will devour it." This, in fact, establishes that locusts have been known to wreak havoc for a very long time. They are also used as a metaphor for the enemies and invaders that God will send to judge and punish the nations that rebel against him. Hence, the visitation of locusts is not something to celebrate or consider a miracle. It should be a time of reflection. What did Muslims believe about the incident? Did it impact their faith or relationship with God? How do people react to invasions of the Grand Mosque? In the recent invasion, the news of insects invading the Kaaba in Mecca grabbed the attention of Muslims everywhere. Many were shocked and couldn't believe it, wondering if it was a sign from God or just something natural. A video of these locusts swarming in Mecca went viral on social media, leading to a lot of talk and debate about what happened. Muslims have been discussing the incident online, expressing their worries and looking for answers about what it means for their faith. This insect invasion at the Kaaba has made many Muslims think about their beliefs and connection with God. Some see it as a miracle, while others think it might be a judgment or warning from God. However, it's crucial to note that there's no evidence to suggest it was anything other than a natural event. Even so, it has sparked a conversation among Muslims about signs and miracles in their faith and how they understand and respond to them. The insect invasion in the Kaaba has shown that Muslims have different beliefs and interpretations. Some Muslims believe that signs and miracles are ways that God communicates with his creation, and that they should be taken seriously and interpreted correctly. They point to the examples of the prophets, who performed miracles by God's permission, and the Quran, which is considered a miracle itself. They also refer to the verses in the Quran that mention locusts as one of the plagues that God sent to the people of Egypt, who refused to believe in Moses and his message. They say that this could be a reminder of God's power and justice, and a call to repentance and obedience. Other Muslims, however, believe that signs and miracles are not relevant or reliable in the modern world, and that they should be explained by science and logic. They point to the fact that locusts are common insects that can be found in many parts of the world, and that their appearance in Mecca could be due to environmental and climatic factors, such as rainfall, temperature, and vegetation. They say that this could be a coincidence or a natural phenomenon, and that it has nothing to do with religion or God. Both views have their supporters and opponents, and the debate is ongoing. Some Muslims try to find a balance between the two and say that signs and miracles are possible, but not necessary, and that they should not be the basis of one's faith or actions. They say that the most important thing is to follow the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah, the example of the Prophet Muhammad, and to worship God sincerely. What then does the insect invasion in the Kaaba mean for the future of Islam? The insect invasion in the Kaaba has important implications for how we understand Islam and our connection with God. It reminds us of how nature can be powerful and unpredictable, making us stay humble when faced with events like this. It also shows how important it is to keep places of worship, not just the Kaaba, clean and hygienic. As Muslims, we should think about our own actions and how they might harm the environment and spread diseases. In the end, the incident's significance lies in how it impacts our understanding of Islam and our relationship with God, and the implications it has for Muslims around the world. It challenges us to reflect on our faith and how we practice it, and to seek guidance from the Quran and the Sunnah. Meanwhile, this isn't the first time such a strange occurrence is happening in the Kaaba. The Kaaba, the holiest site in Islam, has witnessed several unusual events throughout its history, some of which have been attributed to natural causes, while others have been seen as signs of divine intervention or prophecy fulfillment. In recent news, pilgrims doing the Tawaf, the ritual of circumambulating the Kaaba 7 times, were caught in storms as lightning hit an iconic tower in Mecca. The lightning strike was captured on video and shared on social media, showing a bright flash and a loud boom that startled the pilgrims and the residents of the city. The tower, known as the Abraj al-Bayt, is one of the tallest buildings in the world and houses a hotel, a shopping mall, and a clock that overlooks the Kaaba. The storm brought gale force winds exceeding 80 kilometers, 50 miles per hour, according to Hussein Al-Qahtani, spokesman for the National Center for Meteorology. The storm also caused heavy rain and hail, flooding some of the streets and disrupting the traffic in Mecca. The conditions were similar to a 2015 storm that felled a crane at the Grand Mosque, according to Qahtani. The 2015 storm was a powerful thunderstorm that hit Mecca on September 11, 2015, causing heavy rain, hail, and strong winds. The storm toppled a huge construction crane that was working on the expansion of the Grand Mosque, killing 111 people and injuring 394 others. The storm also disrupted the preparations for the Hajj pilgrimage, which was due to start 10 days later. The Saudi authorities declared a state of emergency and launched an investigation into the cause of the crane collapse. They also offered compensation and medical care to the victims and their families. Likewise, the 1941 flood was a rare event that occurred on December 19, 1941, when heavy rain and flash floods inundated the Grand Mosque and the surrounding areas. The floodwater reached a height of 1.5 meters, 5 feet, inside the mosque, damaging the building and the Black Stone, which is the most sacred object in Islam. The flood also exposed some of the ancient inscriptions and decorations on the walls of the Kaaba, which date back to the pre-Islamic era. Some of these inscriptions were written in Greek, Coptic, and Syriac languages, and contained names of pagan gods and goddesses. The Saudi authorities ordered the removal and destruction of these inscriptions, claiming that they were blasphemous and idolatrous. The flood also sparked debates and controversies among Muslims and scholars, as some saw it as a divine punishment or a sign of the end times, while others dismissed it as a natural phenomenon or a conspiracy. The 2008 bee swarm was a strange occurrence that happened on April 6, 2008, when a large number of bees surrounded the Kaaba and created a loud buzzing sound that could be heard by the pilgrims. The bees were attracted by the fragrance of the kiswa, the silk cloth that covers the Kaaba, and the perfume that was sprayed on it. The bees did not harm anyone and left after a few hours. The Saudi authorities said that the bee swarm was a normal and harmless event, and that they had taken measures to prevent it from happening again. They also said that the bees were a blessing and a symbol of peace and prosperity. However, some people interpreted the bee swarm as a miraculous or ominous sign, as bees are often mentioned in the Quran and the Hadith as creatures of wisdom and guidance. These occurrences may either be natural occurrences, as some people suggest, or they may hold strong divine messages, as others believe. What do you think? Share your opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, fam. For a more thrilling and informative video, click now on the next video that pops up on your screen.